Got a good workout today. Some Navy SEAL burpees. Good, good full chest workout when you just don't have the ability to get to the gym. Uh, I'd like to talk a little bit about Thessalonians, which I just completed reading. It was one of Paul's letters to the Thessalonian church, and I actually really liked it. I found it very inspiring. And just to give you a little bit of background on it, it's Paul writing to the church. He wrote to a bunch of different congregations that were being set up, and he's giving them guidance and helping them through. And obviously, some issues had arisen for the Thessalonians, and some of them were to do with their fear they'd missed out on like the second coming and they missed out on salvation, revelations and all that it had already occurred. And Paul pretty much puts that to rest with like, hey bro, you're gonna know when it happens. You're not gonna miss that one. So that was neat. But the other part is that there's a lot of idleness occurring amongst some of the church members. And my take on it is this is an unprecedented time in human history. Christianity's spreading, and it's spreading like wildfire, and it's spreading everywhere to every strata of society. You have people that are high up in the Roman government that are becoming Christians. You've got merchants, you've got wealthy people, you've got poor people, and these groups are mixing, and they've never really mixed before. Not to this level, not in the idea of equals in a congregation. And there's a lot of generosity going on, and there's obviously some people that either had a deliberate feeling, they're deliberately going after joining the church to reap the benefits of this generosity, or there were perhaps some others that had kind of stumbled into this and realized that they didn't have to really work, and they could just sit back and cruise off the generosity of others. And then there's another interpretation that some of them, they just believed that the second coming had already happened, or that they didn't need to work anymore. And Paul's putting all that to rest. But what I thought was most interesting, what I really liked about how he addressed it, is first, when in 1 Thessalonians, he doesn't actually say to the people who are giving the money, he doesn't say to the rich people, he doesn't tell them, hey, just cut these people off, stop being generous, just move on. He doesn't say that. He addresses everyone and says, hey, pretty much if you're being idle, if you're not living to God, to your full potential for God, then you need to shape up. You need to stop that. And I thought that was a really interesting viewpoint, and I really liked that. Because I think, on a larger scale, we could definitely apply. Everyone, you can look at when you're in your church community, are you doing everything you can for the church? Are you being emotionally dependent? Are you being financially dependent? Are you depending on some way other than spiritually dependent on this church community? Not to say that you shouldn't use the church when you have hardship. That is what it's there for. I'm not at all saying that. But the idea is that you should use it and then move on. You shouldn't just be stuck in a permanent state of dependence. And I think that's made pretty clear in Thessalonians. And I think for all of us, are we just using the church for the community that it gives us, but we're not really actively contributing? We should all be looking at, like, how can I actively contribute to help spread the word of Jesus, spread the word of Christ, spread the gospel, and how can I be a net contributor to my church family? I think that's very clearly put out. And then also, in terms of your own personal finances, your personal position within the community, are you living to your potential? Are you, hitting as high as you can? Because there's another implication that your as a Christian, as a Christian community, you don't want to be seen as a bunch of poor people living off of the generosity of others. That's not what Christianity is about. No, we don't pursue money. It's not idolatory, but we also don't make ourselves dependent on other people. And Paul even goes into talking about that with, when he's walking around, starting these churches and preaching, he still engages in work to get to provide for himself, so that he tries to the best of his ability to lessen his burden on others, because he says that's a key part of spreading the gospel. And I thought that was very interesting. Then in Second Thessalonians, he gets a little harsher, and he does say, pretty much that it is the responsibility of the church to prevent enabling behavior. You can't just keep allowing people to be idle and providing for them, and not eventually you have to cut them off, and you have to tell them they have to leave the church. And then the idea is hopefully that they'll come back, but that you should admonish them. I did think that was interesting. He obviously, so there is a finite limit to this. But again, it's clearly shown that that's kind of as a last resort. And I think too often in our society, we're very good at pointing out, other people that aren't contributing. And we're very good at seeing ways that someone else is not perhaps contributing as much as they could, but we're not very good at looking at ourselves and saying, how can I contribute more? What can I do more? And then on the flip side, he's also saying you can't just support people that aren't actively contributing and spreading the word of the gospel, and think that's okay. So all in all, I thought it was just a really powerful piece of scripture, and there's a lot of allegories to today. There's a lot of questions in our society, within our church, about the level to which we should support others. And I think we need to assist others that are on hard times, but the fundamental message is that there should not be dependence, and that if you are in a position where you are requiring assistance, your goal should be to get out of that position, and you should be working as hard as possible to no longer be dependent. Anyway, that's what I got. Hope people like it.